constantly deciding what to watch, right? It's nice to just have a show.
Wake up.
You want to watch this? Yes.
That's what's happening.
And then the food is still hot.
Yeah.
And so, right? So,
Nice. No, you eat during the search.
I can't.
Yeah.
No.
Eat during the search.
No, I can't do it. But,
Focus.
yeah. I want to enjoy it with the show. And so we turned this on, and it was not at all like the movie, right? The setup is not at all. I also did not find it to be fun. I found it to be boring, you know?
YUNKJunk!
We're rolling now.
What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning in to the, hold on a second, to the Cult Pop Valentine's Day podcast, episode 64?
Legacy episode 865.
A show where we talk about movies and TV and comics and breaking news and arbitrary holidays and affection and all those other things that scratch your nerdy little itches. We're coming to you live from YUNKJunk HQ.
YUNKJunk!
A bomb-ass podcasting production space in Philadelphia,
Should've done it in
PA.
your mouth and I did the,
I'm your secret spy host, Johnny Destructo. I have a comic shop. It's called Hero Complex. Come see me. With me tonight to talk is
Brian.
Dylan. Woohoo! He's in the booth. Brian.
Hey,
Noel.
what's up? No, it was one of those, it says green, but it's written in the color red tricks. He was looking at you.
I am Noel.
Oh, hi, Noel. Also, Brian.
I'm called Brian.
I have been declared O'Brien.
And then also in the booth is our trusty producer, Dylan. He's amazing. Thank you.
He already said woohoo.
Okay. We're killing it. Look at us. We're blowing through it. That's
was the best
introduction.
thing about a show is to blow through it.
Yeah, are you having a good time? Faster.
Yeah.
And then what's the next part? Oh, it's a segment that I like to call What You Been Up To This Week, huh?
Before we do that, I would like to say if anybody wants to engage with this show, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Say, hey, why don't you email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com.
Tell them about the bell.
The bell. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got a new bell.
You gotta hit. You gotta hit the bell, and when I say hit the bell to get notified, it's actually his new bell. It's Brian's new bell.
Yeah, come
Just
on.
go to his house, hit the bell,
Yeah.
and we'll notify you when we're ready.
It's like a fucking gong. It's actually really cool.
I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's brass.
It's a brass.
I feel like he's been.
Got
I
big brass bells.
I was thinking it's Bratz themed, like those children's dolls.
Well, it's a brass.
It's like
brass.
etched into.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not a joke. It's a brass bell.
Bratz bell.
And it's atop your house, your home, your domicile.
Yeah, of course.
And every hour. So I live about a mile downhill from you.
Belling distance.
I literally can hear it on the hour. And what it does is like at one ding. At two, two
Bongs.
dings.
2 dings.
At three, 3 dings.
Mm-hmm.
At 4 dings.
Yeah.
At 5 dings.
Yeah.
6 dings. I think you see the pattern, but if not, at 7, there's 7 dings.
7 dings.
And then at 8,
What was I gonna do next?
there's gonna be 8.
Yeah.
What about
I
9,
know
though?
there's gonna be, and you know what? I will count to them because I'm like, what's going on? 9?
Yeah.
9 dings.
Yeah.
10 dings.
And when
11
he
11
says-
dings. 12
Yeah.
at noon
Yeah.
Or 1 a.m.
or 1 a.m. Actually,
Or I guess
noon.
noon a.m.
noon.
No, it's actually just coincidental
Yeah.
that sometimes 12 is at noon.
Now, does it?
I don't always do it.
Is it automated, or do you have to like interrupt your day every 60 minutes?
Not an
to go-
interruption, Noel, if you love what you do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Never work a
It
day in
is
your
the
life.
day.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
Where are we?
So this is the segment I like to call What You Been Up To This Week, huh?
Huh.
And the reason I call it that is because I will go to Brian, and then I will go to Noel, and then hopefully someone will throw it back at me, and they'll ask the question, what have you been up to this week, huh?
There's some show lore about the title of this segment. I've never liked it, and I want to tell you why I've never liked it. Because when I'm in the chat asking what you want to include for this segment, I fucking hate. Hey, what do you guys want to do for the What You Been Up To This Week podcast? It's just such a mouthful.
So you just type W Y B.
I have tried.
Why would you do that even? Just say, what do you want to talk about this week? It does not have to be. I'll know what it is.
We know what the
No,
segment
here's
is.
what I've never liked about the segment.
Tell me.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
All right.
Hate the name, love the segment, love these people.
No.
This is What You Been Up To This Week.
What you been up to this week,
You said it
huh?
was gonna be.
So I want to.
You said that was why it was called What You Been Up To This Week, huh?
I'm going to bend time and space and not talk about what I've been up to this week, but I actually want to talk about something that I think is an excellent viewing opportunity for people who want to maybe be in the mood for more realistic love stories.
Oh.
And that's the
pornography.
It's not romance unless he's a pizza man.
Okay, yeah.
Or a plumber.
Sure. Or why not?
Yeah, whatever. The Before trilogy. So before
What's that?
Before
Yes.
Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight, all written and directed by Richard Linklater. Actually, I think Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy writing credits on the second and third.
It's a lot of improv.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are, if nobody's ever seen them, they are 3 very simple movies, all have like a decade or more in between each movie. And it's one afternoon, evening, or one evening, one day, one afternoon with this couple at that point in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is them both in their early 20s, backpacking through Europe, and they just meet on a train and decide to have a couple drinks together.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is they haven't seen each other for 17 years. It was one interesting evening that they had, and they reconnect, and their lives, they literally have an afternoon before his plane, and they reconnect and kind of talk about what their lives are. And then the third one, I will not spoil the plot of because it has to do with the second one.
Is this maybe I'm thinking of the spoiler. Weren't they supposed to meet up again
At the end of the second
movie?
one? At the end of the first one, they were supposed to meet up again.
And then they didn't.
You find out why they maybe didn't, and they haven't seen each other in like 17 years. The third one takes place 10 years after. So this is literally like 25 to 30 years.
He's on a book tour. Yeah,
yeah 25 to 30 years span.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been almost 10 years since the last one. It was like 90, let's say it was like 92, and then 2001, and then like 2009 or 11.
I just saw any of these for the first time. I saw all of them, but a few months ago.
No kidding.
I saw that. Yeah.
I remember my father is my dad is a weirdly hopeless romantic, which is very weird for like a electrical contractor for 40 years, but he always I used to make fun of him because he would like, no, you know what the meaning of that movie, like we would go see fucking Die Hard and he's like, you know what the theme of that movie was? I was like, what? Love Conquers All. I'm like, fuck you, Dad. Everything we saw was Love Conquers All. And I remember I do hate love. As a 10-year-old, I was just like, no, it's about explosions. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Whatever, soy boy.
It's like
I did. I told my
father
you're a cuck. I told my father he's a cuck, and I walked out.
Exactly.
I haven't talked to him in 35 years.
And you coined that term.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No, but I remember he was obsessed with the first movie. He had the VHS on the shelf, and I never wanted to watch it because I thought it was cheesy and stupid for girls. I finally watched the first one. I want to say 15 years ago. Like I was living in Manayunk. So it was not that long ago. I finally watched the first one and I immediately became obsessed with it.
Was the second one out yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked at a movie theater when the second one came out and everyone flocked to it. And I was just like, never saw the first one, didn't care. It's fine. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I've missed the boat, but these movies are so evergreen and timeless and realistic in a way that is not always perfect, but is always still compelling. Can't recommend more than anything else I've ever recommended in my life.
Wow.
I mean, they're not the best. They're not the best thing in the world, but I do think that everyone in every shape and size and stripe of life would gain something from watching these movies.
Yeah.
At least the experience.
Yeah. So I don't know if you were part of it, but I believe we did it for Movie Club.
Yeah. The first one. And
I think we did all 3 of them.
Just the first and the second one.
Oh,
We never did the third one because when I told my wife I was going to mention these ones, and she was like, oh, I love those movies. We never watched the third one. I was like, no, we didn't. But I've seen it.
Oh. Are you watching,
So
Sam?
what was your experience having just revisited them or visited them for the first time?
I visited them.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love that kind of thing that skips ahead, and it really skipped ahead because that amount of time passed in the real world, a la What's Happening and What's Happening Now.
The
seminal skip ahead TV show.
They can make one right now. Yeah. Like these movies are
They can make one
forever. They're evergreen. They could be 90 years old and make a before movie.
Be cool.
Would be kind
now,
of cool.
I before the end.
If you can, don't talk about the third one's plot because it kind of spoils the other two.
I mean, I guess it's all before the end, right? Hey, maybe they're 90 years old. Maybe we have immortality by then. And they're like, how are we going to keep going forever? So anyway, I liked in our real lives by the time they're 90.
True.
So anyway, I really did, beginning with What's Happening and What's Happening Now. And I would see that as a kid. It was like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like they were on this show, they're kids, and then second half hour of the block, they're now 5 years older, and they're actually 5 years older.
If you want your face to melt, just explore Degrassi.
Oh yeah, I've never watched anything with Degrassi.
Because every time I see Degrassi and then Degrassi The Next Generation, I just see The Next Generation in the old TV guides, and I was like, oh, The Next Generation. I was like, Degrassi.
But it's all
Star
like
Trek.
All the original students are like the parents in that show.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I love that
that's
idea,
cool.
and
Yeah.
I really have loved the idea of doing it again for a lot of shows.
Degrassi?
Which no. Yeah,
I've always
Degrassi
wanted
the
to
third.
make a Degrassi. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen the other ones.
They do that. They've been doing that more often, like the Gilmore Girls.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
A Year in the Life,
is
like
that-
they went back and.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that now this is a very common thing.
Yeah.
But there was a time when it was only what's happening and what's
Yeah.
happening now.
I remember being blown away too. I was
right?
like, whoa.
Whoa. How did the
That's
real
so cool.
time pass?
Yeah.
And then this
Just made
movie,
it
which
feel,
I never saw until
it just
recently.
made it feel even realer, even though it was like a sitcom,
exactly.
silly.
It was like,
Like
yeah, it was
a place that you went and it
they're
existed.
not
and
made up to look older.
Yeah.
Right. They're not just wearing
They were just
glasses. Their
still
hair is
there.
not just longer, right, or shorter.
How did you like Before Sunrise?
Oh, yeah.
Now what's happening?
So anyway, well, here's what's happening about my thoughts about Before Sunrise.
Let's go. What's
I liked
happening
it.
now?
What's happening now is that I really liked the so I really liked the first one.
Cool. Okay.
That was the theme song from What's Happening.
I got it.
You did you?
It took me a second, but I got it.
I know.
I knew what you were doing. Here's the thing. I
yeah.
knew what you were doing,
Yeah.
but the way you were doing it,
was weird.
I wasn't able to
There's
translate and find the actual theme song in my head, which
There's
is
a
why
fine
I
art.
glitched.
I understand.
There's a fine art to going along with the bit, but then there's a point where you just like pull out and let it just crash. And
Sometimes
I
it
love,
happens.
Yeah, that's
I
what-
love
Sometimes it happens.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one was the best of them.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
The first one is amazing. It has such a there's such a way about it. This, like you were saying, this reality of this heightened night that could definitely happen, right? And there's great conversations between them.
There's something magical about it too, because
Yeah.
like it's a realistic seeming experience, but having lived as long as I have, you know that so many things have to go right.
Right. Well, I love
for
when
that
they
to kind of happen.
They decide
It's just-
to
it's-
hang out. They go into the bar, and he's like, "I don't have any money. Can I please have a bottle of wine? I will send you money." And he's like, "You met this girl?" He's like, "I met her." And he's like, "Go have the best night of your life."
Yeah.
Right.
Very sweet.
And I like to think that he sent him the money, but they never touch on it
yeah.
in either of the two movies.
There's something I literally watched the movies very close to each other. But in the third movie, there's a conversation that's they recap an event in the first movie. It's about whether they sleep together or not. And I for the life of me could not even remember, because he's like, "We definitely slept together 25 years ago."
Impression.
Yeah, we definitely slept together. And she's like, "No, I don't think we did."
Right.
And even when you watch the movie, they do imply that, but it's not explicit. So
Not
like
pornography.
even
Right. Like you were hoping for before.
there's no scenes of them literally derobing each other and getting
Right, right,
prepared. Like it's more implied than anything else. So like even in that moment, I did feel like I've spent 25 years with these characters, and am I misremembering it?
Did we sleep together?
Yeah, am I misremembering that experience I had with you
Did I
guys?
watch them sleep together or no?
Yeah.
Well, it's just it creates this this sheen of reality, because as time goes on, you do kind of you create your own narrative of the
when I
events,
was
even if they're shared events.
When I was
howdy.
a kid,
Yeah,
there
dude.
was a joke on The Simpsons, one of the Halloween specials. Grandpa is telling one of the stories, and he's like, "This happened to me," or maybe it was a movie that I saw. And it's hilarious, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's so funny." And then as I got older, I was like, "Oh, that happens," right? Like either this was something that I saw, or this was a story that a friend told me. And I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Was I in that story?
Maybe it was a dream I had. Yeah.
There was a time, you ever like kind of wake up and not realize that you'd been dreaming until you think about the events of that dream?
Yeah.
I woke up and I was like, oh man, that was just a dream. Those guys didn't slash my tires. I can still go to Hawaii. Oh, damn.
I'm not going to Hawaii.
Yeah, I didn't go to Hawaii either.
You don't drive to Hawaii.
You don't? No, it was the events.
No, I know.
It
Like,
got
drive
in
to
the
airport,
way,
you
right?
asshole,
I
like,
couldn't go to.
I feel like you drove to Hawaii. In this
Didn't,
dream, you
'cause it
drove
was
to
all
Hawaii
a dream.
because
What am I-
the tires were shredded.
One of my favorite stories from the filming of that first movie is, I assume you've seen it, is Ethan Hawke and Juliette Binoche.
Julie Delpy.
Binoche. Where did you get that?
She was an actress,
It
Juliette
was a
Binoche.
different person.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not brioche like the bread. Binoche like the person.
She's like the bread in other ways.
The scene where he has to convince her to, because he meets her on a train and has to convince her to get off the train. And every single thing they try, she's like, I wouldn't get off the train with this guy.
Right.
So he had to keep trying different things to convince the actress to be like, you know what, I would get off the train with this guy. And so I like that he comes up with, consider me a sort of like a bad date, like something to laugh about with your future husband because you got off the train with this guy and it was like, and it was such a bad date and everything. And she was kind of like, all right, I'll get off the train.
It also was a different time. This was like 1992, 93, like no cell phones, no social media. You did kind of like, he was the context of the character is that he has just a metro train ticket throughout of Europe and he's just backpacking. So he has no safety net and all that's in his pockets. And how do you have this experience? It's just a wonderful movie. Dylan, have you ever seen these movies?
I have not.
They are so in your wheelhouse, my dude.
Yeah.
For real?
Very much.
Word. I'll check them out.
It's like the grandfather of independent filmmaking, kind of like.
I've definitely heard either you guys talk about them or maybe another podcast we do. I feel like I've heard people talk about it because it sounds familiar.
But I feel like for my taste, I kind of have I won't say a negative memory of them, but not an overwhelmingly positive. I think they're a little too realistic for if I want to watch a romantic movie, I think they're a little too real and a little too negative at times.
The third one.
Yeah.
The third one gets into some harsh conversations. And the third one has a couple of moments where it's uncomfortable because this feels too real.
Yeah.
The first and second one have a more drive about the potential.
Yeah.
Whereas the third one is, we're older now and this is what life is like. Yeah. But it still ends on a...
Does it?
Yeah.
Positive?
I mean,
I don't remember it. I just remember feeling kind of like a little oogie.
No.
Yeah.
As far as I remember.
Okay.
Anyway, what's
what you guys what
have we been up to this week?
Brian, what have you been up to this week, huh?
I'll tell you what, guys. I just thought of this movie that I saw that is a great love story. It's called They Came Together.
Oh.
Oh God!
It stars
I'm familiar with it.
A ton of people. Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd are the main characters. Now, I saw this movie a little while ago, but since we're bending time, I'm going to talk about it right now. And it is every speaking character is
David
some
Wayne.
Comedian, some funny person.
This is a great still.
Yeah. Some funny person is like every single speaking role. Jason Mantzoukas is in it.
Paul Rudd, Amy Poehler, David Wayne, Kobe Smulders, Ed Helms, Ellie Kemper. Holy cats!
It's directed by David Wayne.
Jason Mantzoukas.
So the creator, the co-creator of Wet Hot American Summer.
Yes,
the
and there's a lot of
Randall Park, Melanie Linsky, Christopher Maloney, Michael Ian Black, Jack McBrayer,
Bill
Kenan
Hader,
Thompson, Jeffrey Dean Morgan,
right?
Nora Jones.
Every speaking
you
role.
Had me at Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
There is not a
Michael
role in this
Shannon?
movie that isn't some like, oh, I find them hilarious.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
It is a great send up of romantic comedies.
Yeah.
They arrive together, they meet at a Halloween party where they have both dressed like Ben Franklin and they hate each other. And then I forget how they get together, but they're like, he's playing a pickup game of basketball and each of his friends is a specific type of advice.
Nice.
Like and he's like, well, being your married friend who settled into his life, I have this to say. You know? And it's all like that. And it's
that's
like
very David Wayne.
Yeah.
The director.
It is a romantic comedy like
I think he co-wrote it.
Yeah, him and Michael Showalter. Perfect.
Yeah, great. Yes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure both of them are in it. Yeah. It's a phenomenal movie and it ends in a very fun way. And it's every note of a romantic comedy is like everything in this is some note. And in fact, later we were watching Man of Honor, in which they play a basketball game, much like this. It's with some actor and a woman, and I forget. It's a romantic comedy. They're famous people, but they're playing a basketball game that is a lot like this. And we're like, oh, this is that scene from They Came Together.
That's cool.
And, which is such a perfect title as well.
Yeah, it's a good title.
Dirty, but could also be the title of a romantic comedy.
David Wayne, I didn't realize David Wayne also directed Role Models.
Oh, really?
I love that movie. I love Role Models. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big Wet Hot American Summer fan.
Oh, great.
The State was like my introduction to skit comedy. I love David Wayne. I like Michael Showalter.
Have you seen this movie?
I haven't.
Oh,
I really want to see this.
Oh, it's wonderful. I'd rewatch it. Yeah.
Now, there was another one. I think he also did one called The Buff. Starring
MacGruber?
No.
What the?
No.
You said Guff Buff.
It wasn't MacGruber. I'll look it up. You go and keep
and it's a woman. It's basically like the ugly friend in a high school.
Duff. That's not him.
The Duff. That's not him?
No.
Okay, cool. Never mind. Forget I said anything. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up. This is one of those movies that I think
really funny.
I saw a trailer for and I was like, that doesn't actually look very funny.
Oh, it is.
But it is?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll tell you what I've been up to. So speaking of romantic comedies, About Time.
Great movie.
I don't know. It has stuck with me ever since I saw it in the movie theater. And I watched it again more recently. Oh, Up it. Oh, it's like falling over.
Yeah, what are you, dumb?
Oh, that's because it's falling over. Okay, so About Time, directed by Richard Curtis and starring Domhnall Gleeson and Rachel McAdams. This is the second time Rachel McAdams has played a time traveler's wife.
Second of three. Well, not wife, but romantic interest.
Of a
Dr.
time
Strange.
traveler? I guess he does
He
travel
has
through.
some
Oh,
time
shit.
zone at least.
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
I mean, I didn't figure that out myself, but yeah.
But this is a story where Domhnall Gleeson and I just lost her name.
Rachel McAdams.
Rachel McAdams meet at one of those like really weird kind of restaurants in New York where it's like it's all dark and you have to eat your food completely in the dark.
I always thought that was an interesting concept.
Yeah, I've never done it, but it's like one of those gimmicky New York dinner things.
Like how's that going to improve?
They meet there. Oh, and it's got Bill Nighy.
Yes.
Oh my God, what a dude!
Actor.
I love watching him work.
Yes.
And so they get together and they start a relationship. And when he turns 21, he discovers that he can time travel.
Sure.
He goes into a dark closet, closes and concentrates real hard. He can travel into his past.
Yeah, all the men in their family can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he can travel to the future, just the past.
I wonder, why isn't it like every man on the planet then? When did this power start?
So this is a movie where
one of the things they never explain.
You can't question the sci-fi elements of this movie because the entire thing falls apart.
Just magical
they
realism.
Explicitly they explicitly don't even want to touch it. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, we can.
Hijinks.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. And I'm a big sucker for time travel movies.
Me too. Oh, I love them.
It's a really fun, charming rom-com. I highly recommend About Time. It's from the director of, I think, Notting Hill and Love Actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Richard Curtis. He wrote and directed.
I really like the idea, which is like kind of a sci-fi idea, when he goes back in time after his child is born. There's a different child there.
Yes.
Yeah,
I didn't want to spoil it, but yes.
It's an old movie, and it's not really that big, but it's cool.
Go on. Yeah.
And just like,
Say it again.
because exactly.
Kind of blew through it.
Yeah, exactly the kinds of. Exactly what happened has to happen for you to be born, right?
Yes.
So when he goes back and alters anything,
before the birth of his child.
Right. Yeah, it's just that exact thing happening. I think Alan Moore called it a thermodynamic miracle in Watchmen or something. I don't know. And I don't know if he came up with that term or not, but something so unlikely, but it happened, right? It's like a post-determination. I've called it, right? Like once it happened, it only could have happened in that way. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I mentally classify that this is two movies. About Time is two movies in one. I mentally classify it as a father-son drama more than I do a romantic comedy, even though the entire first half of the movie is a romantic comedy, because the second half just becomes more about the men in this family having to figure out what they can have versus what they want. And even though they have this wild power, it still has very specific limits, and
consequences.
So like it's a very layered movie, and it's so like romantic in the way of not a rom-com more like romanticizing the relationships that matter to you. Like that makes it more impressive.
It's a romantic look at father and son relationships as well.
It's a romantic movie, but a lot of times people will just associate that as like dating movie. Like, no, this is
nowadays.
This is a romanticized story about love, unconditional.
Yeah. Highly recommend this movie.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. Although his solution at the end, which I won't spoil, I'm like, that's one thing you could do. There's a lot of other stuff you could do with time travel, but and not just the winning the lottery stuff, but sure.
I think I personally think that the movie, anything else, any other choice would make you, at least make me lose, not respect, but start to, I guess like lose some respect for the main character, because then it starts to turn into playing God versus just trying to make better. You know what I mean?
It's just something he can do that other people can't. You know what I mean? It's not a level playing field. I'm going to be
honest.
Yeah.
I would win.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Sure. I would absolutely.
Right? Unless, what about this, JD? Right? There's the winning lottery ticket. Yeah. Somebody wins or would have won. And now you have made it so they don't win. And you win instead. Here's what you got to do. You buy stocks.
Hey!
Right?
Yeah.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it's
I've heard about it in movies.
It's something you buy.
It's a stock.
Yeah.
This is my
stock of your
life. It's not really a problem I have with time travel movies. It's just the time travel, in a lot of them, the time travel becomes more important than telling a story.
Sure.
And when you can pull strings like that, it's like, well, now
that would be what the story was about.
Really about that. Yeah.
Right.
But and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just like I think that that's a when you are so disengaged with, or you start to pick and prod at a movie that's, honestly, this movie's very simple in a good way. I mean that as a positive. But when some people push it at arm's length because it's not a realistic depiction and you should have done this and you could have done that, it's like, oh, you didn't see the same movie, did you?
Yeah. No, you could do whatever you want. Yeah. Although they could also make it play out like, of course I win a tidy sum so that I don't have to work, but but I'm really all about love, which he does say at the end.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
anyways,
he's not a very imaginative character at all. He's incredibly simple. He basically just wants to keep getting the first date right. Yeah. And that's so small stakes.
The problem I have with those scenes that I absolutely am in love with is how manipulative it is to the woman or whatever the partner is in the situation. But I love seeing a time traveler trying to get a date right. It's so charming to me. But like, if I were to stop and step back, I'd be like, poor woman.
Like Groundhog Day. It's like,
yes.
Yeah. Although he didn't have a choice. Well, I guess he did have a choice.
He had a choice of how he treated people.
He started,
Right. And he does get better. That's kind of his whole deal. Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
What's up now?
I'll tell you, it's Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's a new show that just dropped last week on
Amazon Prime Video.
Developed by Francesca Sloan and Donald Glover. Inspired by, hold up a sec.
All right.
Wasn't there a previous Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Wasn't that a remake?
Show
it was a TV show
with Scott Bakula shortly after Quantum Leap. And I remember
Scott Bakula?
Yeah, he was Mr. Smith, the titular Mr. Smith.
I could have sworn Mr. and Mrs. Smith was like a black and white.
No.
I don't know.
Wow.
I think but that show was more like this, where they are two spies who are not married and pretend to be married, and they probably fall in love. I don't remember, but
that's usually how it works.
When every time for me.
Yeah.
So when the movie came out, I was like, is this that or not?
Yeah.
And then it turns out it wasn't.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So inspired by 2005 Mr. and Mrs. Smith by Doug Liman and Simon Kinberg, starring not the movie, Donald Glover and Maya Erskine.
I think.
Yeah.
Erskine? John and Jane Smith become secret agents for a mysterious organization. Their work puts both their skills as spies and their relationship to the test.
That's true.
The two have to deal with a world full of dangers. So I'm going to be honest. I am at the point now where if Donald Glover is involved in a project, I am automatically going to check it out.
That's Maria Bello.
I'm looking
Maria Bello.
The television series, which lasted barely a season in 1996.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the art for it, and it basically is it looks like they took the movie posters from 2005 and photoshopped Scott Bakula and Maria Bello on them.
It's a fan-made
it's a triptych of
Smith
pictures.
TV show poster.
It's a triptych of pictures. The top one is like them dancing with a white background in tuxedo and dress. And the bottom one is him in pajamas holding a bazooka outside in front of a house and her also holding a bazooka in her pajamas.
I want to watch
Not
this.
unlike the actual fucking movie.
Yeah.
Where all the imagery was like him in his underwear and his boxers and they're like shooting guns outside of his house.
I wonder if they did get the idea for the movie from the show. And you know how sometimes it changes and they're like, okay, well, what if they are actually married? They just don't know each other as spies. You know, that, I don't know.
Which we'll talk about the movie versus the show. I'm sorry. Go on. Donald Glover.
I was just saying that Donald Glover, I'm in.
You're in.
I'm in for his albums.
Right.
I'm in for his comedy. I used to love his stand-up. I've gone to see him live.
Right.
And I just really enjoy his television projects.
Okay.
So I was already going to be watching this because he's involved.
Me too.
But then this guy, he winds up saying,
said some
he said some words. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to
And then I felt bad about that.
this.
I was like, I shouldn't have tainted your expectations because I too was very excited. I think Donald Glover is awesome. I'm not familiar with the other people.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, Maya Erskine is from another TV show.
Pen
15?
Yes.
I never got into Pen 15.
Me neither.
But yeah.
But it's a purely comedic show.
I've heard it's very good. Yeah.
She plays a middle schooler or a 14, 15-year-old girl.
Girl.
Yeah. That'd be weird.
Sure.
I mean, there
A show
literally
called
is a
Penis?
show.
Yeah.
There's a show now where it doesn't matter. Go on.
Yeah.
So that's all to say that I went in. I only watched the first 2 episodes, even though the whole season has dropped. But I am very excited to go back and continue watching the show.
Nice.
The first episode, I will say, has a bit of a slow burn aspect to it.
That's true. Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with that. This feels like I went in expecting Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the action comedy that I saw in the theater in 2005. And so this is more of a day in the life of regular, well, I wouldn't call them regular people, but these 2 people who have to live their lives while also dealing with each other and growing to develop a relationship together while going on spy missions.
Yeah.
What did you think, Noel?
I really, really, really liked it. I watched the first 3 episodes. The premise, it's different than the premise of the movie. I never liked the movie. I remember it having a couple of cool splashes, but like this is it was Doug Liman after The Bourne Identity. And I thought The Bourne and
was
Go.
it really?
Yeah, it was Go,
Go.
and Bourne Identity.
Oh, he did Go. Oh, Go is awesome.
Yeah, Swingers, Go, Bourne Identity, and then he became
Wait, he
like
had something to do with Swingers also?
he directed it.
I did not know that.
I thought
John
John Favreau and Vince Vaughn directed
They
it.
wrote it.
I see. Oh, okay.
I used to love Swingers.
Oh, I love that
I would
movie.
watch it like
Man,
once a month.
good movie. One of the only soundtracks that I had, speaking of soundtracks, like we did last week.
I was hot on Doug Liman. I really, really loved all of his movies. And this one felt like the most boring version of the story. I never bought that they didn't know about each other. I never bought, like, it just
I
seemed
forgot
like
that was an element of it.
it seemed like
They were hiding it from each
commercial.
other?
Like the whole, Neither of them
If you
knew
can
that
believe it.
Yeah, neither of them knew that they were that they were secret spies working for, competing in different organizations.
That's pretty funny though.
Yeah.
It's just
If they could sell it, I
it
guess.
seemed just like it was like a reverse engineered commercial of a movie, and it just like it didn't have the same kind
Like
of
the scene where they're shooting up in the house and they're talking about being married. That was definitely in the trailer, and it was definitely like, this is what this movie's about.
Basically, it's just it was like the facsimile of a better movie, and I like, especially comparing all of his previous flicks. I never really liked it. Did not have any affection for it. Never cared. I watched it once. So the show, like the idea of them doing something different with the show, all for it.
Nice.
Originally, this was supposed to be him and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. They developed it together, and she left. Reasons, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it was because of creative differences or she had other stuff going on, because she's off like doing.
Well, she
Tomb
was
Raider
one
show.
of the writers, or she was also
They were
going
developing
to be
it together. She was going to be
the actress.
Maya Erskine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But then the show became something else, and Donald Glover and half of the creative team on this is from Atlanta too.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
So
like
some of
the
the
director
directors-
keeps being
Yeah. So it became a bit of a different show. And I don't know. I guess I had the expectation that I was going to be in for something different, more so than the premise. So the first episode, actually all 3 episodes feel like small 1-act plays, and they just put the camera there and these people have interesting conversations. They're not always compelling conversations, but they always feel like real conversations. But the weird thing about it is that these conversations exist in this really weird real world of they don't even know what agency they're working for. There is no, like, it's all of these like fantastical elements, but everything that happens between the two people is like, well, yeah, I wouldn't trust him like that. And why would you tell him that? And yeah, of course you go through, like, it's just, they felt like real conversations. There's a conversation in the second episode where they just averted death and something just kind of happened. And earlier there's like, this is nothing romantic about this. And she's just like, do you want to kiss me? Yeah. And it all felt so realistic because they both signed up for high risk. They had no idea that they were maybe 30 seconds away from dying horribly.
That first episode.
And then now they're alone together in a safe space. And it's like, yeah. Of course, maybe they would like get on with each other. Like it just, it all felt, it felt organic. Yeah. It felt organic in a space that was very manufactured. Like the house is very manufactured. Their cover stories are very manufactured. Everything is incredibly manufactured, but every time they interact, it's just like, it's cute. Even in the third episode, it's even cooler because they start to really act a little bit like a couple and shit doesn't jive when they need to communicate as a team. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. But there's no real action. It's just like,
and it's got, the third episode has,
Sharon Horgan.
Oh,
yes.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm excited to because I love Sharon Horgan so much.
You're right. It is a slow burn. It is like, if people are like, oh, I fucking loved that movie, I can't wait to watch this show.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah. Well, expect something different.
Sometimes you might like it. Yeah. But don't hold us accountable.
The thing you were talking about, the house, the pre-manufactured house, is I was watching that conversation that they were having in the beginning where they're eating the lox and bagels. And I'm looking behind his shot and I'm like, is that a breakfast bar from a motel where, you put the cereal in and you do this and you put your bowl under? Why is that in your home? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. What did I think?
Brian, what did you think?
Did not care for it too much.
What did you watch? How many did you watch?
4.
Okay, great.
Of them.
More than most of us.
More than all of you.
Well, Dylan, I don't know.
Dylan, weigh in here. How many did you watch?
0.
0. That was 0 sign.
He didn't. He only had one hand available. It was supposed to be an 8. Like it's 2 on top of each other. All
interesting. What a weird way to do that.
He watched the first 2 episodes of season 2. It's not out yet.
Yeah.
10.
So I had never seen the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and quite by coincidence, we happened to watch it a few days ago, or maybe like a week ago, right? I was like, let's watch this movie. And I'm like, I don't feel like it. And then we watched it. Right?
And then she taped my eyes open and tied me down.
Yeah. And now I can't listen to the old Ludwig van. So, but I thought it was fun. It was a fun movie.
Was it a Clockwork Orange reference?
It was.
I got it.
It was.
Okay.
So my brothers and only. So, he's this goof, Brad Pitt, right? And she's this super competent spy. And I really think that dynamic worked. And I think Donald Glover is great, right? And I thought I was heading in for, so I was looking for a show for tomorrow night to watch together, right? Because it's constantly deciding what to watch, right? It's nice to just have a show. You want to watch this? Yes.
That's what's happening.
And then the food is still hot. Yeah. And so, right? So.
Nice. Right. No, you eat during the search.
I can't. No.
Eat during the search.
No, I can't do it. But
focus.
Yeah. I want to enjoy it with the show. And so we turned this on and it was not at all like the movie, right? The setup is not at all. I also did not find it to be fun. I found it to be boring, And I keep thinking like, now I think maybe they're heading in a direction, and if they do that, I would be interested in that. And I don't want to get too into it, but you probably already have guessed.
I don't think we never really delineated spoilers or not, but I don't even think we have to. Like,
but I've seen 4 episodes, and you guys enjoy it haven't seen as many.
I'm talking about for the purposes of the audience, the 4 people that watch this or listen to it.
Right. I mean, 3 of them probably turned this off to watch Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
There's no major twists in the first 3 episodes or the first 2. It's really just about them.
Yeah.
It's if police partners have to get together and just learn who each other are. It's just like that extra escalation of you don't know who your boss is.
Right.
You signed up for some crazy shit and you knew it was going to be crazy shit.
How moral are you?
And you have to,
Yeah.
and you have to fake being married.
Right. For some reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought the
then
chemistry.
Also Paul Dano shows up.
Yeah.
Yes. Who I was like.
And John Turturro
right,
and Alex Skarsgård and Isaac Gonzalez. Like, they're
Karen Horgan.
Speaking of all speaking roles, every speaking role is a fucking guest star. And they're big guest stars. It's like, this is kind of cool.
Yeah. And so I'll tell you, I kind of forgot, but Paul Dano is listed as like the third one on IMDb. And I was like, oh, I bet he has a big part. And
so far,
maybe he does.
Yeah.
But I found it to be slow, kind of boring. Their interactions are like stilted, and they have I think they're supposed to be to a degree, right?
Awkward,
but
right?
They have conversations a little later, which I think are supposed to be like fun, and they're like, this is the kind of thing that we would talk about in a relationship. I don't know. It just didn't. It doesn't grab me, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
There's a documentary on Netflix. I don't know if you guys are documentary people or not.
Depends on the documentary.
I was actually referring to him in Tomorrow, but still.
Sometimes.
Also you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm here too.
Listen up.
It's a playful documentary for the most part. It's I forget the actual title for it. It's on Netflix. It's something like the longest first date in history.
Okay.
It's or the longest third date, the longest second date, something like that. These two people met on an app. They decided to go on a date. The guy was like, look, I travel for my job. Let's go to Mexico. And she was like, fuck it, let's go.
Sure.
And then COVID hit. And they were literally stuck in a resort, and then they were hopping from Airbnb to Airbnb as things were shutting down. They were having to chase like certain countries that were allowed to fly out and get back. And like, this was a
it's documenting this date.
Themselves.
Because he's an influencer or a wannabe influencer, he was literally filming every day.
Okay.
And
that sounds horrible.
Their relationship.
It depends on the person.
I will not tell you if they stayed together or not, but their relationship started in the same way of like, I don't trust this person, but I want to be adventurous. This sounds fun.
Yeah.
And then they did things almost in reverse where like, they got drunk and hooked up, but then they're stuck together for weeks.
Right.
And you learn about the other person in out of order and in weird kind of ways. And when I was watching this show, it reminded me of that very stupid or silly documentary about like, they have to trust each other with their lives, but they don't know preferred breakfast.
Yeah.
And these things are happening in like weird cadences.
Yeah.
So like some of it's maybe organic, some of it seems really stilted, but it's like, it never struck me as inauthentic.
Yeah. No,
even when it was kind of like offhanded.
There are a few times, especially in the second two episodes that I've seen, where I see Donald Glover doing something and I'm like, ooh, that's the guy that I'm used to, right? Like, I like him doing that, right? And he is a highlight in the show, and he's very good, and she's good too. It's just,
it's not clicking.
It's just not clicking, and I can't tell if they're good at what they do or not.
Right.
What their background is. They don't seem to be that good, and I have a couple of examples. But one thing. Quickly. So, all right, here's my question. We've all seen the first episode.
Yes.
Where the cake, their mission is to deliver this cake to some diplomats or whomever, nicely dressed people who are expecting a cake for a party. And then the cake blows up. Where was that cake going? You said spoilers don't matter. You gave the all clear.
That's fair.
Where was that cake going originally?
Right.
Who did they steal it from? Was it a test? Because the diplomats were expecting a cake.
Yeah.
How did it remain intact when they clearly dropped it? And like, was it going to blow up wherever it was going before they stole it? Who's this woman with the cake?
Yeah.
Right?
I wondered the same thing. Like, where was that going? I actually was surprised because when I the whole time I'm going, it's a test.
Right. Sure.
I don't know if did everybody have that same thing?
Yeah,
this mission they're
like
on.
First mission, sure.
It's probably just
I kind
a
of
test.
expected the woman to turn around and be like,
you suck at this.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And like, oh, it's a cake. Isn't that funny? You're just delivering a cake. But I was like, where was that cake going? Why did they steal a cake? So I don't have an answer to that question either.
Me either. And then the second thing, this is a little bit of a spoiler, JD, but they're trying to get into a fancy event.
Yeah, I saw it.
You saw that one. And so they're wearing a tuxedo, or he's wearing a tuxedo, and she's in an evening dress. And he's like, hang on a second. There's only going to be like 6 other black guys in there, and they all know each other.
Yeah, I love that.
Check my jacket. I'm not going to leave it in the car. Check my jacket. And I'm going to go in with the wait staff, right? Now, do you think it would be easier to blend in like a party where you could move freely, or dressed as one of the staff who are employed together? It's like you go into a Target wearing a Target shirt, and then everyone else that works there is like, I guess he works here.
Yeah.
Because he's wearing a shirt like us.
Right.
Like, what did he not plan? He knew the kind of event he was going to.
Well,
and just at the last moment, he's like, hang on a second, I'm going to pretend to be employed with these people.
Well, he eyeballed the situation. I actually had no problem with that. Like,
I loved it.
Yeah, they only, and also too, the details were you need to dress up for this, you need to go to this location. It wasn't a or
he didn't
it's
know.
an auction.
They didn't know it was going to be a crazy
location.
party.
Like the dinner party of it all.
True.
Like it was just supposed to be an auction.
And to be fair, people in spy movies do this, but really, and that would be much more tightly watched.
And
10 employees of somebody. What's he doing in the kitchen?
Yeah,
So
who's
how's
this
he
guy?
getting these drinks?
One of the things that I dig is that they are both capable.
Yeah.
But they are off the street spies.
Yeah.
There is no like she flunked out of CIA.
Right. Antisocial. Famously, the CIA only takes people who are very friendly.
And he was dishonorably discharged. And has some and has a kill count.
Yeah.
Right.
So like they are not the cream of the crop. They are
That's a good point.
Weapons to push in directions.
Yeah.
Right.
They didn't have other choices.
Yeah.
This is why they did this. They wanted money.
But that scene specifically I thought was really cool. One was I'm gonna go scuff up my shoes.
Yeah.
That's the first thing he says.
Right.
Which I'm like, cool. The thing that bothers me though is when they rush out of that party, she doesn't get his coat back.
Yeah.
It was a Gucci.
It was Gucci.
He missed
The
out
hell?
that Gucci coat.
Why didn't he keep it in the car? They were still at the car.
No, the car left.
See, my problem with the first episode is their big thing is like she smears the blood on her and she's like, he carries her in. Oh my God, help, help, help. And then it cuts to they're in the bathroom of the restaurant.
Right.
And then he's like, I'm going to go out this way. You go out that way. And then she just walks out like this. It's like none of the wait staff or the people who work in that restaurant are like, oh my God, are you guys okay? Can I call the hospital? Can I call 911?
Oh.
Let me wait by the bathroom door to make sure you're okay. You're carried in like this woman. Yeah.
This show,
And
there's
everyone
a lot of that.
I didn't think
and
it
it's this stuff. It's like, why is this happening?
I didn't check it was the same location. They were just cutting through.
That's the way in my head canon, I was like, oh, maybe they did that to get through the first restaurant and then they went to another restaurant.
I don't even know if it had to be a restaurant that they finally hit a bathroom in. It was just like, let's do this so we can cut through this fucking kitchen.
Yeah.
And then they eventually were in a space and it's just like, you go out that way, I go out this way after you clean up.
Yeah.
So it is a shorthand. You're right.
I'm willing to check it out to see if what I think is happening. Tamara is out.
Do you think they're eventually going to have to go against each other?
No. How could that happen?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think that they're working for.
Is that the thing?
I personally think they're working for bad guys, and I do think that the mission will eventually be each other. Yeah. Which I mean, that's Schrodinger's gun.
Yeah.
Wait,
is it there?
Yeah,
maybe not.
That was what was introduced.
Schrodinger's Chekhov.
That's what was introduced. So we have to kill the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there is a cat.
There is a cat.
Yeah, he gets shot by the gun.
That was cute.
He gets shot by the gun. Have you never read this?
The cat
are you not familiar with these tropes?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Schrodinger's cat. Like the cat is not there until you can shoot it, and you show the gun to shoot the cat. Duh.
Yeah.
Learn about story, fuckers.
Yeah,
well, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Let us know what you thought about Mr. and Mrs. Smith, streaming now on Amazon Prime, starring Donald Glover and
Maya Erskine.
Like the guy who gave Captain America the super soldier serum.
I think the same thing.
There you go.
Every time I see Erskine.
Erskine Street too.
I do want to finish this show and maybe later on I'll say how.
Oh, I'm in. I'm definitely gonna watch it. I'm definitely gonna watch it. Yeah.
No,
you're like, I have one more. I want to bring us out.
This is going to go on for another 4 hours. I'm going to watch the next 4 episodes.
Here we go.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll talk at you later.
Doodles.
Doodles.
YUNKJunk!